Hi everybody in the Venture B2 class. Welcome to your Tuesday video. Today we're only going to do one page and it's all about reported speech. So you've probably done that a couple of times before, but we're going to review it and do a couple of activities today. Just before we start, I'm going to let you know that from next week, we're not going to do YouTube videos anymore. We're going to do Zoom classes. So you are going to have a Zoom class on Tuesday and Thursday for 40 minutes each time. Okay, so it's more or less your class time, plus extra time marking all of your homework and answering any questions that you have. So what is a Zoom class? A Zoom class is an application called Zoom. I'm pretty sure you know that because you might have downloaded it already for your classes at school, but it's basically, for those of you that don't know, it's a website or an application that you download, and it's like Skype. It's like video chat, but we do our classes on that and more people can be in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you all an email either today or tomorrow with your Zoom link and the code and the password that you need to enter the Zoom classes. I'm also going to tell you what time the classes are going to be, okay? The classes are going to be roughly more or less the same time that we normally have classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. In case you have another class at your school or something going on at that time, please let me know and we can all decide what is a good time for all of us to do the classes, okay? So have a look in your emails in the next couple of days for the Zoom class password that we're going to use, not this week, but next week. So today you get a YouTube video of your class, and on Thursday you get a YouTube video, okay? Also, please, please, please do the homework from the last days. Some of you have been amazing at giving me the homework, but some of you, I haven't heard from you for a few weeks. So it would be really good if you could do the homework as soon as possible, and so you're not so far behind, okay? And also, I'm still waiting for some of you to give me back the practice exams. All right, well, what are we going to do today? I have a small board here with some sentences on it. Okay, so this is my son. Today, he told me, "I'm thirsty." This is my husband. I'm sorry, I'm not a very good artist when I have to draw fast. My husband asked me, "Can you give me the remote control? That's what you use to change the channels on the TV." And this is my mother-in-law, and she said, "I finished using your hair dryer." Hair dryer is that gadget you use when your hair is wet and you dry it, okay? So these are three things that three people either told me or asked me today. Can you please write in your notebook 3 things that 3 different people have asked you or told you today? Okay, so pause the video and do the same thing as me, but with 3 people in your own life. Okay, so now that you've done that, I'm going to show you what I added onto this piece of, onto this board, okay? So this is what my family members directly told me, and here are the things that I tell someone else. For example, my son says, "I'm thirsty." My son said that he was thirsty, okay? So, as you probably know, this is direct speech. It comes directly out of the speaker's mouth. And this is reported speech. Maybe I told this to my friend, or I told this to somebody else, or my colleague, or my boss, okay? What changes? For example, in direct speech, "I'm thirsty." What tense is this? It's the present tense. In reported speech, you go back 1 tense. So "I'm thirsty" changes to "was thirsty," okay? "I'm" changes to "he." My son said, you don't need to say that, but my son said, or my son said that he was thirsty. So the present simple changes to the past simple. What about this one? Can you give me the remote control? My husband asked me if or whether, you can use either of those, I could give him the remote control. So this is a question. Can changes to could, okay? And if it's a yes or no question, we use if or whether, okay? Only for yes and no questions, not like what, where, when, why. No, only yes or no questions. Okay, because can you give me the remote control? Yes or no, okay? And also, it's important to remember the sentence order, okay? So when you do reported speech in questions, it's not a question structure. The verb is not first. It goes like a normal sentence. It's not, you wouldn't say, my husband asked me whether could I give him the remote control. No, it's not like this. Can you give me? No, it's I could, like a normal sentence, okay? You don't put the verb first. And the last one, I finished using your hairdryer. My mother-in-law told me she had finished using my hairdryer. So again, what changes? Your hairdryer in direct speech, you also need to change the pronouns. My, okay? And I have, this is the present perfect. It changes to had, okay? The past perfect. So you always go one step back in the past when you're using reported speech. But not always. Sometimes you have words like will, and that changes to would, or some modal verbs like may changes to might, must changes to had to, things like this, okay? But those are some very few exceptions, all right? So can you please go to your book on page 88, okay? And before we go to page 88, I forgot. In your notebook, for your 3 sentences, can you change the direct speech to reported speech just like I did? So you have 3 examples of direct speech from things people said today, and you need to make them into reported speech. 3 examples, okay? Just like I've done, all right? When you finish doing that, go to page 88, this page, okay? And you have a lot of information in number 1, all about reported statements, okay? So what I'd like you guys to do first is to read the statements, okay, and find the reported versions in the text on page 86 and 87, okay? So this was the article that we read in the last class about tornadoes. So what you need to do is have a look at these 5 direct speech sentences and look for the reported speech versions in the text, okay? So anything with quotation marks is going to be direct speech, and you need to look for the reported speech and write this in your notebook, okay? So that is going to be homework, okay? Just number 1A is homework, all right? Letter B says complete the table using example 1A. So how do we convert direct speech into reported speech? You have to pause the video and change what the different tenses change into, all right? So pause the video now and complete this table here. Okay, so what I have done here is I've given you the answers. So A, it says the present simple changes into the past simple changes into the past perfect, the present perfect continuous, so I have been studying Spanish, for example, changes to the past perfect continuous. I had been studying Spanish. Might changes to, well, might here as well, okay? It stays the same. But may changes to might, okay? But might stays the same. And the last one is when it's an imperative or a command, like go to your room, be quiet, eat your dinner, for example, it changes to just an infinitive, to plus the verb. For example, go to your room. My mother said, or my mother ordered me to go to my room. When you have an imperative, like a command, or when someone's telling you to do something, you really need to use different types of reporting verbs, not just say. Things like forced someone to do something, ordered, accused, denied, lots of different types of verbs, not just say, all right? So have a look at C here, okay? Have a look at C. It says we usually use the verbs say and tell to report statements. They mean the same, but tell is always followed by an object. For example, my mother say me to go to the supermarket is not correct. My mother told me to go to the supermarket is correct, okay? The word that can be omitted after say and tell. You don't need to say that. Like in the first example, my son said, I'm thirsty. My son said he was thirsty. You don't need to say my son said that he was thirsty. It's not necessary. You can use it, but it's not necessary. Okay, so in number 2, what you guys need to do is rewrite the sentences using reported speech and the prompts, okay? So in number 2, it's all direct speech, and you need to use reported speech. So pause the video and complete the 7 exercises in number 2. Okay, so for exercise 2, these are the answers, okay? So you can pause the video and have a look. Please look at the underlined verbs to see how they change from direct speech to reported speech, okay? So what we're going to do now is have a little bit of a look at reported questions. So these were statements, like sentences. Now we're going to have a look at the questions, okay? It says, read the sentences and choose the correct alternatives in the rules, okay? So we are going to read them. So number 1 says, I asked Joe if he would consider doing such a thing in the future. And 2, I asked why I thought people were so fascinated by tornadoes. A says, for WH or yes or no questions, we repeat the WH word in the reported question. So what do you think? WH words are what, where, when, why, also how, okay, even though it's not WH question words, okay? And yes or no questions. Do you like pizza? Can I have a bottle of Coca-Cola? Okay, yes or no questions. So A, for WH questions, okay? WH, the first option, we repeat the WH word. I asked why they thought people were so fascinated by tornadoes. The question was probably, why are people so fascinated by tornadoes? And this is the reported speech. I asked why. You repeat the WH word. Okay? Letter B. For WH or yes or no questions, we use if or whether in the reported question. So for yes or no questions, we use if or whether. Do you remember this example of my husband? Can you give me the remote control? It's a yes or no question. My husband asked me if or whether I could give him the remote control. Okay? And C, the word order is the same as an affirmative or interrogative sentence. So when you make reported questions, is the word order like a question with the verb first, or is it like a sentence? I told you this at the beginning of the video. It's affirmative. It's like a sentence, okay? So you would never say, for example, can you give me the remote control? My husband asked me if could I give him the remote control? No, if I could give him the remote control. So the verb is in the second position, like a sentence, even though it's a question. All right? So have a look at number 4, okay? Complete the reported versions of the questions, okay? So you need to pause the video now and do number 4. Okay, guys. So for number 4, here are the answers. I didn't write the whole sentence. I just did the first part and the second part. So pause the video, have a look at the answers, and if you don't understand the answers, please ask me, okay? But I think more or less it's straightforward. But yeah, definitely ask me if you don't know, okay? So the last thing that we're going to do, which is homework as well, is this little box says reported speech, other changes. Sometimes we have other changes when you use a phrase, a preposition of time, or just like a time indicator, like yesterday, tomorrow, next week, here, there. You have to change those words as well, just like you have to change pronouns for who's talking. So it says, we often need to change pronouns and expressions of time and place in reported speech. Like, I've been here since yesterday. She said she had been there since the day before. So there are some changes. Have a look here at page 154. It gives you a reference of the grammar with some more rules that you can read in it, okay? So what your homework is to do number 5, okay? Number 5 has 7 sentences, and they are all direct speech. And what you need to do is change these direct speech questions or statements, and you need to make them reported speech questions or reported speech statements. be careful. You need to change the pronouns, maybe the time, the preposition or expression of time or place, and be careful with the word order in the questions, okay? So just to repeat, your homework is to do number 1A, okay, and number 5. All right, guys? So that's your class for today. That's it. What I'd like you to do throughout this week is to keep checking your email and looking for that Zoom link that you need to save, and you need to save that password. I'll send you an email anyway. I can do it in Spanish or in English, whatever you prefer, explaining what to do and how to use Zoom. You probably know more than me. I'm not really that much of an expert. But the Zoom classes will start next Tuesday. Okay, guys? Well, have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you again on Thursday. Bye!